Hi guys, and welcome to Magic. As you can see, I've just created a new release of Magic Cloud. One of the more important features I happen to believe personally is that I've created a light theme. Why is this important? Because this is really cool, but it's almost impossible to read when I'm sitting out on my balcony in the sun and I have sunlight. So I chose to create a little light bulb up in the upper right corner. Anyways, so I've installed Magic using the default setup process using the Docker images. There's a link in the description of this YouTube video where you can find the instructions of how to get started. However, in this video, I want to demonstrate an under-communicated feature of Magic. Basically, the ability to create a secure HTTP REST web API using SQL. Anyways, if you haven't already, then create a Babelfish database. We're going to need a sample database to play around with. So I'm just going to go to the SQL menu. I'm going to choose load. I'm going to choose Babelfish, and then I'm going to choose execute. This creates a database for me called Babelfish with two tables, languages and translations, which I'm going to use to perform a join and then wrap my SQL statement inside of an HTTP REST endpoint. Then open the menu item, go to diagnostics, important, we need to clear our cache, particularly this key. I'm just going to purge everything, doesn't really matter. And now we can go back to our endpoints. Then we're going to filter on, sorry, we don't have Babelfish yet. Forget what I said, click the magic menu, go to the generator. And then choose your database, Babelfish, and then choose Crudify all tables. Now, of course, this creates all CRUD operations towards every single table we have in our Babelfish database, at which point we can go back to our endpoints. Now we go to our endpoints, we filter on Babelfish, and then we can find languages, for instance. We can invoke its get endpoint. At which point we will see that we have 5 languages by default, which is part of the SQL script that creates the database. However, if we invoke the translations get, which is a little bit further down here, then you will see it has nothing, right? So we're going to find the translations post, and then we're going to insert one English item. We're going to call it foo. Its local is going to be en, its content is going to be foo, bar, howdy, or whatever. Doesn't really matter. You can choose whatever you wish, invoke, and verify that the endpoint returns success. Then we can go back up to our translations get invocation. We can invoke it again, at which point we see we get one item back. Now we're going to do something funny. Now we're going to go all the way up, then we're going to choose the generator menu item here. However, this time, instead of automatically crudifying the entirety of our database, we're going to click the SQL tab. Then we're going to choose a database, being Babelfish, and then you can provide an HTTP verb, primary URL, and a secondary URL. I'm just going to keep everything as is. You can also provide arguments. However, here comes the fun part. This is actually a SQL editor. So I can type select all, and as you can see, it provides syntax highlighting from, and then if I'm on a Mac, I can do function control and click space. If I'm on Windows, I can click control space, at which point I'm getting autocomplete from my tables. So I'm going to choose languages, L, inner join, translations, T, on, L dot, control space, local, equal T dot, control space, local. However, I'm not going to select all, I'm going to select L dots and then control space, local, L dot, language, T dot, ID, T dot, content, and that's it. Now I can click generate, and I have successfully created an HTTP REST web API endpoint in SQL. Let me slightly better format it. And if you want to resave your endpoint, you have to choose overwrite. If I now just click generate, you see endpoint already exists. If I click the overwrite button, it allows me to overwrite the existing endpoint. Now I'm going to expand my menu item. Then I'm going to choose to open my endpoints component in a different tab. Why? Because I want to keep this guy around, because I want to play around with it. If I now find the secondary part of my endpoints URL, for instance, and I filter on that, okay, let's go here, custom SQL, right? Here we have an HTTP GET endpoint, which I can invoke. And as you can see, it returned my single item. My translation database table only has one item. It adequately performs the join, etc., etc. If we want to, we can also parameterize our endpoint. So let's create an argument for our endpoint. Let's do name, filter, type, string, add, and then we can click generate. And our endpoint now takes an argument. Now, we're not really using the argument, right? So let's use the argument. Where t dot content like alpha filter, and that's it. Click generate. Go back to your endpoints bugger here. However, we actually have to refresh now because the endpoints have already been read, so we need to refresh again. And we can click on custom SQL. Here we have our endpoints, and now you see, oh, it takes an argument. Okay, so let's provide an argument. And as you could remember, our content contained the word bar, right? Okay, so let's do %var %add invoke. And as you can see, it matches content because our content contains the text bar. We change our filter, we add bar 2, add invoke, it returns nothing. Now, of course, this thing here, obviously I'm using MySQL, but you can also use Microsoft SQL Server, and you can execute stored procedures, arguably allowing you to, I'm not sure if I would recommend it though for the record, but at the very least in theory, you could create your entire HTTP REST web API using SQL stored procedures in Microsoft SQL Server if you wish. So anyway, and also of course I can change the verb. If I create let me create a new one called custom SQL2 and let me change it to post. Then I can generate. If I now go back here and I refresh my endpoints and I find custom SQL2, you'll see it actually takes a JSON payload. Now this one happens to work exactly the same because it's the same SQL, right? But I mean, obviously I could provide inserts or deletes or whatever type of SQL I really wanted to inside of the SQL editor here when I am generating my endpoint. So anyways, thanks for watching. There's a link in the description of this YouTube video if you want to download Magic and play around with it locally. Magic is, as of version 9.0, 100% open source, and there's no license requirements, yada yada yada. So you can use it in your own proprietary projects as much as you see fit. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.